start. It's the 5 minutes that I spoke about has passed. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank you all for your attendance. And I would like to thank Dr. Ali and his team for inviting me to give this talk about how to publish papers in high-impact journals. Actually, when I was first approached by the College of Graduate Study to give such a talk, and they said, we want you to tell students how to publish in high-impact journals, my first answer was, I wish I knew. Because actually, it's not an easy task. And definitely, I'm humbled to stand before you today and speak about this, because it is indeed something of high impact, and I don't know if I'm the right person to say it. But I'm grateful for the invitation. My name is Naman Zaher. I'm from the Department of Chemical Engineering. And so if I move ahead, now universities are concerned about two things, teaching and research mainly. Beside conveying a well-developed knowledge in classes, they also are concerned with developing their own knowledge. Now, the challenge of conveying already developed knowledge, a knowledge which has been developed over years, and books and texts have been written about it, the level of challenge in that regard is much, much lower than the challenge of developing your own knowledge. And for that reason, because the challenge is much higher, it is a bigger achievement, it's a higher achievement, it's more significant, and therefore people look at it differently. So if you are given the time and the resources, you can teach whatever you want. But give me the time and resources and tell me publish in Nature, I may not be able to do that. It's a challenge on a different level. And that's why the reputations of the faculty members and the institutes where they belong to depend solely on the publications and the quality of the publications that they produce. Don't get me wrong, I'm not undermining the significance of teaching and its importance, but still the achievements and the reputation of a university depends strongly, and the reputation of a faculty member or a researcher or a academician, which is mainly most of you going to end up doing, their reputation is mainly depending on the research publications and the records that they have. So beside that, it's a record that speaks on your behalf. You don't have to go around and tell people, I'm a good teacher, a student likes me. This record is a documented record about the quality of the work you do. You don't have to defend your work. Your publication speaks on your behalf. For all that reasons, the research publications is something that everyone should take really seriously and put their heart and soul into it, because at the end of the day, their career and the reputation of the place they work in and their own reputation depends solely on it. So besides explaining well-developed science, universities are also involved in discovering and developing new knowledge. After you discover and develop the knowledge, you have to disseminate it. You have to show it to people, and that's where the reputation comes. A dissemination of these new findings plays a major role in the advancement of sciences. So beside your own benefit, it benefits the humankind altogether, because science definitely is meant to improve the life of people. So beside the benefit for yourself and your reputation and the reputation of your institution, still it is an advancement of humankind altogether. Hence, reputation of university depends strongly on the quality and quantity of the research it produces. Now, when it comes to research and the development of science, publication in journals is the name of the game. Everything else comes after that. The most significant factor in the research productivity is the publication in journals. Journals are the place where you publish your work. It is reviewed, and when you publish something in a reputed journals, the facts that you are stating there carries credibility. Conferences should not be mixed with journals. Conferences are not places to publish. You don't publish in conferences. You go for conferences for a different reason altogether. People think that conferences are places where I send my low-quality work. Actually, you should not do low-quality, period. Whether for conferences or for journals, low-quality work should be out of your scope. And conferences is not a place to dump your bad work, because definitely the review process is much less severe and significant when it comes to conferences. They are not that, the idea with conferences, if you if you are writing something within the scope of the conference, then it is acceptable, because that's the scope of that conference. Even wrong results, they will accept it. Come and say it, and you will hear the feedback from people about your work. So the conferences are places where you go and discuss your work. Immature work, you can go and present it in conference. Ideas that you want to work on, you can go and present it in conferences. But you cannot publish immature work or premature work. You cannot publish an idea that you're just thinking about. The conferences, as I mentioned, is a place, a forum where you go and discuss and speak to people. And you can promote your own work, which I'm going to speak about. This is a major part of your task as a researcher after you publish, is to promote your work, and conferences is the ideal place to promote your work. So don't mix between the two. Don't think of conferences as a place where I can publish. Nobody regards conference publication. At least I've heard people in IT saying different, but at least from my background, conferences are not regarded as journals. So if anybody from IT, they may disagree with me, because I had such a discussion with people in IT, and it seems that their conferences are more significant than journals for one reason or another. Journal publications is the main component in research productivity, and as I mentioned before, it is the name of the game. The conferences are not meant for publications, and conferences are rather forum for discussion and exchanging of ideas. I've just put some of the major publishing houses. It's always good that you select journals from those publishing houses, because that confirms the continuation of the journal. You don't want to publish in a journal that after a year or two you don't find it. These publishing houses, they first of all, they assess or monitor the quality of the journals they include in their database, and they confirm their continuous production. I'll come to that. Okay, so I'm speaking now for the young researchers who are starting their career as researchers, as academicians, and I would like at this stage to just give you a few advices from a person who's been in this business for a long time on how you build your career, how you build your portfolio. There are many things that people do wrongly, thinking that it's the right thing to do, and if they don't hear the advice, they're going to learn it the bad way. And I'm one standing in front of you who has done those mistakes before, because nobody told me that this is not the right way to do it. At one stage of my life, I said, anything I've produced, I'm going to publish. Anywhere, but as long as I produce something, I don't want it to stay in my laptop, I'm going to publish it. With time and with experience, if times go back, I would have never done so. I would have never put my name on a paper of that quality. So the first thing is quality versus quantity. It is always better to publish one paper which is good than to publish 10 papers which are not good. And you can see the gold is much more valuable than several bowls of silver. Now, the reason for that, because if you published one work which is very good, it will shout, that's your work. But if it is among other 10 or 20 papers which are bad, then you dilute that good work. People will not see it. It's one of those papers. So you have one, but you have 10 which are bad. So have the one. I'm not saying that you go with low numbers, but always target the best. Don't accept a lower quality. Always go for the best quality publications, the best quality journals, and let them be only those. So low numbers of very good papers will shout your quality. And if you have only, let's say, 6 papers which are all in top journals, and another guy has 60 papers, among those 60 papers there are 6 which are high quality, people will not notice them. They are among those. So say, this guy is publishing garbage all around. So, but there are the 6, it's there, but they are not obvious, unlike if you had only the 6, which are the good journals. In addition, try to avoid publishing here and there. I'm going to publish today in this, tomorrow I'm going to work on something else. Then you must have a focus in your research. You must be known for something. You must have something that distinguishes you from others in research. So something unique about your work, a clear direction. So when I speak about X person, oh, he's that, he works in that. But if you're going to jump from one topic to another, today you're going to work with that guy, he's working something, tomorrow you're going to work with another guy who's publishing in something else, and when someone looks at your portfolio I'm telling you, people will look thoroughly at your portfolio. In your CV, or in your, nobody looks at the CV anymore. Your portfolio is in front of everyone. They can open it and see it. So your portfolio, when people look at it, they will analyze those things. Does he have a focus? Is there something unique about his work? Is there something significant of what he's doing? Or he's jumping here and there is no clear direction about what he's doing. So if someone comes and say, let's work together, publish together, if it is something that you do not have a contribution, it's not within your scope of work, it's better to avoid it, even if it's end up another paper in your CV. It doesn't add. The message that I want to put here is that so much of papers is not the issue. You don't want just to accumulate papers and that's it. You need to have a very clear plan for your career. I have a target. I want in 5 years, I want to be a well-known scientist in that field. To do that, I need to build a portfolio for myself so people can know me in that field. But if I'm going to go around, I'm going to lose it and nobody will ever notice what I'm doing. People with big scientists in certain field, people will be waiting for their publications to come. And when they see them, say, when your next paper will come out, they will be anticipating it. And once it is out, everyone starts, oh, he has already published. And that's where you should target your career, is not just pile up some papers and let's increase the numbers and that's it. This is not where you want to end up in your career. Now, visibility and citation is something really important, because when you are doing some good work, you need some kind of recognition of that work. You need people to know about it. And the quality of your work is directly related to the number of citations you are receiving. Because if you are doing a work that nobody is interested in, then you'll get low citations in those work, even if they are, let's say, good. Usually good work will be cited highly. But if you believe that the work is good, but nobody is receiving it positively, nobody is mentioning it, then it's not significant. People consider that work as something insignificant and it will go. But if the citations are high, then that's a clear indication that that work is worth looking at and it's a good quality work. So your work should stand out. Because for you to get the attention of people to read your paper and cite your paper, there are tons of papers and tons of journals. So how could you identify your work and make it visible in front of people? Say, I'm going to cite that paper, I'm going to read that paper, I'm going to see that result, and I'm going to cite that result, not any other. If you publish something at the same moment you published it, there are hundreds of papers published all around. So why people will go and read your paper? So you need to do things that will make you stand out from the rest. The international collaboration is extremely important, because international collaboration, and it's well documented that international collaboration is cited much higher than regional collaboration. So try to reach out to people and work with people from all around the globe, because when you have international collaboration, people from every region will look at that work and will cite it. And it's, as I mentioned, it's if I'm not mistaken, is the ratio is 1:8 for, I mean, statistically, the regional publications compared to international collaboration, it's 8 times more citations you get if you have international collaboration. But again, don't just put names from people all around the world just to increase the, do real collaborative work with people from around the world. This will expand the scope of the work on one hand, and understand the attention of the world. Last thing is, let people know about your work. Shout out about your work. Let people see it. If they don't, you tell them that this is my work. Have a look at it. Okay, so the presentation will go through the following 4 steps. What do you do before article preparation, during article preparation, and during the article publishing, and after you published? So I'm going to go through those 4 steps one at a time. So before article preparation, you need, and that's a very important question, do I have enough work to publish? And usually people, whenever they've done a work, they will come and ask, is this work publishable? Or even they ask examiners, is this work publishable? Because this is the most significant question. Is it good enough to be published or not? So before I start preparing a paper and writing it and forging it, I should ask myself, is this work worth publishing or not? So have you got something worth publishing? Does the work add enough to existing knowledge? And is it of interest to others in the field? So there are this balance here that determines whether you're going to go into starting the preparation and writing the paper or not. So if it is outdated work, things which are already old and nobody's interested in anymore, there are incorrect conclusions, there are duplication of published work, it's already been published elsewhere, so this definitely a no. Even if you've done it, even if you spent time, it's, you just keep it as an experience for yourself, but you don't publish it. On the other hand, original results or methods, significant enhancement to published work, and up-to-date reviews are all in favor of going to the publish. And you balance this, and then you say, okay, I'm going to invest now time and effort into writing a paper and eventually publishing it. So there is always a comparison or compromise between novelty and originality. And what's the difference between the two? Novelty is a new thing, is something that has never been done before, something which adds to the science. And that's the ultimate goal here, is to achieve a novel idea, to achieve a novel work. On the other hand, there is something called originality, and that refers to doing something nobody has done before, but there is no addition to science. I've put an example here. If a test has been done on X material, you've done the same test on Y material. There is no published work on Y material before, so this is original work. There is nowhere anyone has done the similar study on Y. Everyone studied X. This is not novel. This is original work, but there is no novelty here because you did not add to science, unless by doing it on Y, you achieved something that nobody has discovered before. But if it is just the same thing that was done, I've tested X, and I found that increasing the temperature results in increasing the rate with that amount. Okay, I'm making it now on Y and find that the rate is a little bit higher, a little bit low, but it's the same thing, but I'm repeating it for another one. A material that has not been done before, or a new work that has never been done, but there is no addition to science. This is called original work. Some papers, some journals, they clearly say that they accept original work. And you can publish original work in those journals. And they are clearly mentioning it in their statement. I'm giving an example, a scientific report, which is a Nature journal. It clearly says that we accept original work for publication. So the question now, is that what you want to do or not? I think at one stage of your life, you should be publishing original work. It's not always novel, because you will have one or two, if you manage to get one or two novel work, that's an achievement. But try to target more the novel work that goes into the high quality journal, and try to read. Again, I don't want to sound that I am idealistic. We have to be practical here, and if you manage to publish a good work in a good journal, even if it is not novel but original work, I don't think there is anything bad about it, but you don't want to build your career around that work. You want to base it to get something novel at the end, and that's where you're going to be proud of. You should always, if you look at your record of publication, say these are my major ones. These are where my real work is. These are the novel work that I have. The others are around it. But there should always be those papers which you are very proud of and you want to show them to everyone. And so I'm asking here, is this what you want? The answer is yours. If you want to publish original work, there are venues to get that, and it's not bad journals, they are good journals, and I've given an example of Nature journal that does that. However, it's a decision you want to make about your career and where you want to head with your career, whether you want to go with novel ideas. And I was just mentioning this to Dr. Muhammad today. I've attended a talk a couple of weeks ago, and a guy was speaking about significance of science. And one of the things that he has shown is the paper published for the DNA double helix when they discovered it. So the guy who discovered that double helix, he showed the paper. It was in Nature, which is the top of the top journals. So he published it in Nature. It was one page only. There's no methodology, there's no experiment, there's all what I'm going to speak about how to write the paper is not there. It's one paper, one page. explaining the idea, and it makes sense to the scientific community, and it was published in Nature. 1 page only. And it's in Nature, and it cited millions of them. Actually, the entire science of genetics was built on it. So this is definitely a novel work. And this is where, if this guy did only that, that's enough. I've heard once they were discussing about sorry, I'm going a little bit away, but they were discussing with a composer about a famous Egyptian composer, Muhammad Abdul Wahab, and they said that he used to take some bits and pieces from a known what they call the musical yeah. So what he answered, he said, that's fine, but the overall is a piece of art. But then he added a very nice statement. He said there's one of his major music was Anta Umri. So he said if he has done only Anta Umri, that's enough for him. He has done that. Everything else is forgiven. He has done that. And that's what you want to aim for, is that breakthrough, that people to say, oh, that is the thing. And then you don't need someone like me to stand before you and tell you how to publish. Everyone will be begging you to publish. So if to bring the summary of all this, if you want to publish in high impact journal, do something novel. And I don't need to go through the presentation. Okay, so I've decided to go into preparing the paper. I have enough work, novel or original, and it is, I'm convinced that I need to go to the next stage and start preparing my article. So I need to ask myself, what would the editor look for when he receives your submission? Because the editors may reject the paper immediately, will not send it to reviewing. And actually that's one of the major bottlenecks for your publication, is to get it through the editor himself. So the editor will look at a good story. A good story means, is it well written? Is there a logical sequence in what you are saying? Is it a clear and useful, existing, exciting message that you are giving? A very important thing that he will look at is will it be cited? He will look at that because he want to add, because as an editor, he want to promote his journal. So he doesn't want to add papers to his journal that may not be cited, and then the impact factor of his journal will drop. So when he chooses your work, he must be convinced that if he publishes your work, the citations that you're going to receive is high, and then he will be in favor of passing it. So even if the work is good, but he doesn't see that the work is exciting to the public, then he will reject it. He will say, no, it's okay. He will give you, he may be clear and say that that's the reason, but he may give you any other out of scope, any other reason, and he will reject it. But the actual reason for rejection is because he didn't see any hope of seeing this paper cited highly. The logical sequence of the ideas. So if he sees that you are jumping from one topic to another, there is no clear vision. People read an article or read a book or read a review paper as a story. They must be excited to flip the page and go to the next page and see what happens. You want them to beg for the next step to happen. Say, okay, just say it, and then you show it to them. So he is already, his mind is tuned that you're going to say this next, and then you say it, you throw it at him. But if you're going to jump from here and there, in a few seconds he will leave the paper. I don't know what this guy is talking about. But have this logical sequence. So it's a skill, but this skill is something that you could acquire. Any skill in the world is something that you can get by practice. The more you read, the more you practice, the better your writing skills are, and write it, as I mentioned, as a story. Let the ideas flow smoothly. Don't interrupt the ideas while you are going with the sequence of the topic. All these kinds of things the editors will look at before they even send it to reviewing. They will look at the novelty and the significance, definitely. If there's no novelty, they will say there's no novelty in this work. And well-planned and well-executed study. So it's a sound experimental work. You are doing it in a logical sequence, well-planned. You are doing this for that reason. So you don't do experiment for the sake of doing experiments. You do experiments for a reason. I'm doing that experiment so the reader should know that you are doing that experiment because you want to achieve that. But just doing experiment because you've done it. I've attended a lot of defenses for PhD and masters. And when I ask him, why did you do that test? One of the answers, they say, nobody has done it before. Yeah, but why did you do it? I mean, nobody has done it because maybe it's not important, and that's why nobody's doing it. But there should be a reason for you to do it other than nobody has done it. Or it's a part of the analysis. Why? Why do I need to analyze that? Or it's characterization. Okay, I got that characterization. What is the significance of this? Why do I need to characterize? But nobody will spend time in the lab and using equipment just for the sake of using it and adding figures. There should be a reason, and the reader should read it and understand that. Why are you doing those? So those will all be looked at before even the paper goes for reviewing. And the paper could be rejected because of that. So you should choose what do you want to publish in. The normal thing is to publish a full research paper, which is complete, comprehensive research, complete from the beginning with what is the objective, what you want to do, every angle of the research is covered, there is nothing missing because it may be returned back or rejected because you missed a part. So it should be complete with complete conclusion and you've completed the work. That's a full research work. However, sometimes you have made something very interesting and you don't want someone else to catch you for it because research is a race. Everyone is, what you are thinking of, there are many people thinking similarly. So you found something, you want to prove that this is your own. You want to take the right for that idea. So you can send it in a short letter. For example, I don't know why, but short letters, for example, in ranking are not, when you are ranking a university, the short notes are not considered among the publications in the credit of the university, which I don't see why. I mean, actually, those short notes are usually these very interesting ideas, but what they lack is a thorough study. I mean, you just idea and that's it, and they just put it out, and they get it published. Again, as I mentioned, they are generally looked at not as significant as a journal paper, but still, it's if you have something exciting that you want to say, you can send it as a note. Review.
That's a short note.
Short note, it's a short version of a paper. So you just write, there's not complete work. You've just done some tests, prove an idea, you can put it in a short note and send it. And some journals will accept such a thing as a short note. So you choose it. You choose that I'm submitting as a short note. Sometimes you think that it's a complete paper. You send it to the journal, and the editor will send back, say, this work is not complete. It should be a short note. So short note usually is just an exciting idea that you have somehow proven a concept, and you want to send it. Not a complete study like a research paper where you have a complete and thorough study.
Is it like a letter to editor?
It's like a letter to the editor, yes. So sometimes they call it short communication, sometimes they call it letter to editor. It depends on the journal and what they call it.
So it contains no results?
No, it could contain results. I mean, but not thorough study. I mean, you did not reach a full conclusion. I mean, you just tested something, you found something interesting, you showed.
Maybe preliminary work.
It could be preliminary work. I mean, something that you find that I don't want to wait until I complete all the studies, study all the parameters, get the whole idea. You may not even understand what's happening, and it can go in short letter. But when it comes to research paper, you must thoroughly understand it, to investigate what is the reason behind it. So you have the complete picture is clear, then you publish it as a research article. Letters or short communications could be just an idea that you tested, it makes sense, and you say, now we open it for real research. But at least you reserve the right for the idea because it's a race, as I mentioned. So if you have the time, you should have spent more time and publish it as a full research paper. But people sometimes, they don't want to wait. They want to immediately get it. And this is usually is a faster, it gets published faster.
But this will reduce the chance for the actual paper to be accepted? Like you publish it as a short communication. How people make it?
Usually for short communications, as I mentioned, there is no clear conclusion. When you publish for the paper to be novel, you must add to science. So there is no addition yet to science. It's just an idea, but what's happening, why is there, where is the addition to science, all those are missing. So definitely what happens is that you are giving other people the chance to publish the work. Yeah, so, but still, you are fine that the idea was yours. If you are satisfied with that, then it's fine. So that's why not many people will go into this. But sometimes there is something that you want immediately. Now, I got it. let's get it out and then we'll think about the rest. But it's yes, but it's something that you should be careful about, because you will lose the. You could yourself catch it, but you are opening the door wide for other people. So if anybody missed it before, now they don't.
Sir, also the paper you said is published as a single paper. It was short communication.
The nature one,
The nature one.
Oh no, it was a paper. It was a paper. It's a complete paper. The last one is a review paper. Alaikum salam. And the review paper is usually there is no new things. It's not your work. It's basically a compilation of the work of people in that particular field. However, the novel part of it, or the new part of it, is that nobody has done this review before. That's the only thing. You have to address a topic completely from all angles, but I can't find another review that has been done in the same thing. So that's where the new thing about it. But there's nothing, a new work that you have done. And that's called review. But it has to be thorough. It has different things. I mean, I won't go to review paper and what you should include in review paper. I will concentrate here more on actual research papers. Okay. Who should be with you as a co-author? Now, the most important thing here is that the ethics should be governed here, because people are playing all sorts of games to get their citation numbers higher and their number of papers higher. I put your name on my next publication, you put my name in your next publication. These, at the end, it will be shown. I mean, it will appear. You may fake it here and there, but eventually it will appear that this is the game that you are playing. So if you've done it once or twice, I'm not saying do it at all, but if you've done it once or twice, you may escape with it. But if it is a normal trend for you to keep on publishing with people and people publishing with you, then definitely it will show in your portfolio. Another thing that you should pay attention to is the large number of authors diminishes the significance of your contribution in that paper. So if you have, this paper has 20, the other one has 15, this paper has 30, then where is your contribution? So all those papers that you have put your effort in are lost because your contribution is not clear. You are one of those 10. So you should be very careful on who you choose to be with you as a co-author in the paper. Now, on one hand, you don't want to deprive people from their credit, but to choose who should be the authors and what's the sequence of the authors in the journal is something should be very carefully agreed upon among all researchers. The most important thing is that they should have enough contribution in the paper. And some journals now, they ask for the contribution of each journal to be specified. And the general rule is that their contribution should be in two aspects, not only one. So if they are just contributing and reviewing the paper, that's not enough. If they are not just contributing in developing methodology, that's not enough. If they are just contributing in discussing the ideas, that's not enough. They must have at least two of those in order to qualify. And that's clearly mentioned in many journals now, where they say, put the contribution, there are keywords for what are the contribution of each one, and they clearly say that a co-author should at least have two, which is, I have interpreted the data and I've developed the methodology. I done the review and I have written the original paper. Some two things. But at the end of the day, these all are not, there's no clear cut. At the end of the day, you as a main researcher or you as a part of the team, you need to decide who is qualified to be in the document, because at the end of the day, this document is a credit, and people will share that credit. And you cannot add someone who doesn't deserve to be on this paper, and you cannot not include someone who deserves to be. Now, there are some people who have done some contribution. For example, you went to a lab and you used an equipment of someone in a lab. He can be in the acknowledgement, or she can be in the acknowledgement. I acknowledge that person who allowed it to use the equipment in his lab. But to be a co-author because he allowed you or she allowed you to use an equipment, that's definitely not acceptable. Where is the contribution to the work? You don't know the idea, you did not contribute to the discussion, you did not do anything in the methodology. I could have sent it somewhere and pay money and get the results. Is that justify adding those people as co-authors? So this is actually is causing a lot of debate, and the ethics of publishing should be clearly monitored when it comes to the choice of the authors. And I repeat again, it all reflects on your portfolio. Don't be very generous and say, oh, he's my friend, I'll put him on my paper with me. Who knows, maybe in the future he will put me. Or even I don't want him to put me, I just help my friends and put their names. All those will reflect bad on your portfolio. So try to be very careful. The first corresponding author. Who is the first and who's corresponding author? I've heard faculty members saying, oh, I like to help my students and I put them first author. You don't help anyone. It's his right to be the first author because he has done the work. If he did not do the work, he doesn't deserve to be the first author. There's no favors here. You don't have the right because you are the supervisor to put yourself, and because you are kind enough, you allowed him to be the first. No, it's his right. He earned it fair and square. There is no favors here. He has done the work. He has spent the hours in the lab. He has written the paper. He should be the first author. And that's it. You as an advisor and manager of the program and helping whatever, you should be the corresponding author. The corresponding author is the owner of the idea, is the manager of the work. That's the corresponding author. But I repeat again, if you're going to be the first author, and that's what I always tell my students, definitely you're going to be the first author, but provided that you have done enough work to justify being a first author. It's not favors, I'm not helping you or anything. It's your work. You don't have to thank me for putting you the first author. This is your earned right. There is no favors here. But you earn it by the work that you've done, not by my kindness and my sweetheart, I will put you a first author. There's not, these are rights and these are credits. Nobody should play with them as they wish. You take it because you deserve it. You don't take it because you don't deserve it, period.
So it's not always the principal investigator who is the first author. This is what you're saying, right?
I'm saying usually it's the student who's the first author, usually. Unless if the student did not do, if I have a student who doesn't know what he's doing, I just tell him, okay, just do those, go to the lab, send me the results, and I'll do everything. Definitely he should not be a first author, whether he's a student or not a student. But if he's just going and doing, even if he's spending hours in the lab, but if he has done the experiment, and that's actually part of the supervision. You should not, as a supervisor, again, I'm speaking to students here, but the supervisor should not be the person who just pour the ideas into the student, and the student is passively waiting for the instructions to be done. It should be, when a student come and tell me, I got this result, why? I say, you tell me why. I'm not going to say why. You should be able to come up with the answer. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to challenge your explanation. So you're going to explain it. I'm going to disagree. And I want you to convince me that your explanation is correct. So that's part of the supervision. But if he's going to bring the data and they tell, oh, yeah, this is because of that, go and write it and come back, then definitely he doesn't deserve. But the entire process is not correct. But if it's done correctly, then the student should be the first author. But if your supervisor doesn't agree, I did not say anything. You can do. But that's what I think is right. He may or she may have a different idea. But everything I'm saying here, by the way, just to clarify, is opinions. I'm not saying these are facts, because you may hear someone else may have a different opinion. But what I'm trying to say is what I believe in and what I stand by. Beside that, people may have another opinion and say, no, I'm the first author, I'm the one who came up with the idea. So they may, but I don't do it, and I think that's what is correct. But I repeat again, there is no right and wrong here. It's opinions of people and how they perceive the thing. But at the end of the day, the order of who's the co-authors and the order is a major part that you should think about twice before putting the names.
Scientific community, how they look, how they weigh the first author and the corresponding author.
Yeah, the first author is the main researcher and looked at as the person who has done majority of the work. The corresponding author is the manager of the project and the owner of the idea, usually. That's how it's looked at. So if you are a corresponding author, that means you have come up with the idea, you have managed the research until it reaches the final stage. But the actual person who has done the work is the first author. So if you have done it, then you deserve to be the first author. It doesn't have to be student. The co-authors are, as I mentioned, contributors, not just free riders. They should be contributors. They should have real work done in this paper. Okay, so the main blocks of the paper structure is divided into 3 sections: the title, the abstract, and the keywords, and those to advertise for your work. People, before they go and read the paper, that's what will catch their attention: the title, the keywords, and the abstract. So it must be catchy and attractive. So don't try to have titles which are, I'll speak about those in details. I'm just going to go through them, and then I'll give you some hints about each one of them. Introduction, methods, and results and discussions, that's the full story that you want to tell. And it must be clear and of logical sequence. The logical sequence is the key here. And that's where most of the people lack. They have the ideas, but they are jumping from one topic to another. It should be smooth from one topic to another. The conclusion, acknowledgement, references, and supporting material are the context, and it makes readers feel the benefit of reading the article. So after I read it, that's the conclusion out of all this. What did I get out of reading this article? That's what you should get from the last part. You build your paper from downward upward. The first thing is you get your figures and tables, because that is the deciding factor whether you want to go into writing the paper or not. If you remember when we started saying, should I go to write it or not? It comes from the results that you have and the analysis of the results you have. So the first thing is you prepare your figures and tables, and then only you go into investing into the paper. You write the methods and the results and the discussion first. The method first, and then the results and the discussions that you have acquired or obtained. You move after that into the conclusion and the introduction. And the last stage is you write your abstract and keywords once you're done. So although the abstract appears as the first element or first chapter or first section in the paper, it's the last to be written. Once everything is done and you have completed it, then only you write the abstract. And you should be very careful about writing the abstract, because as I mentioned, that's the front page of your paper. That's what people will see, and whether that will be the deciding factor whether your paper will be read and cited or not. So let's start with the items, and I'll just speak about the. First of all, the title. Try to have a catchy title. Try to use a title which is not very descriptive and clear. I don't want to have to see a title that I read it, I understand the paper from it. The study of the effect of that and that on this and this. I mean, I don't want to understand the paper from the title. I need a title that catches my attention and force me to read it. If I'm going to understand the paper from the title, no need to read the paper. I already understood what this work is all about. But if you put a title that will make people say, oh, let's see what's happening there. So, for example, let me give you an example. Biodiesel, will it work or not? Something like that. So people say, let's see what's happening there. Let's look into it. But the test of the biodiesel for use in engines, okay, I know that it's already what you are doing. So try to be short. Again, long titles may stop the people completing it. Interesting and catchy titles, that's the keywords. You must have the people be attracted to the article that you are writing by the title. The keywords goes to a system of search. So use buzzwords that can be easily noticed. So if anybody is searching, your paper will appear. So those keywords, they go into the search engines, and whenever you write a keyword, your paper should appear. So don't use very, very specific words that nobody will be writing them or searching for them. Choose the words carefully, and it's used for indexing and abstracting services, should be specific, and try to use buzzwords, which would increase the chances of finding your paper. So when someone is searching, they will look into the keywords in order to get your paper. So let your paper appear when anybody is writing about, searching about a topic relevant to yours. Then you write the abstract. The abstract is an advertisement for your work. People will decide whether this work worth reading or not is from the abstract. The abstract should give a clear idea. Actually, it will decide whether they want to cite it or not from the abstract. The abstract should give a clear picture of the entire work. And It should attract readers again. You should make it clear and easy to read. What is new in the paper and what is important. Why this work is important and what is new in this work. These things both should be absolutely clear in the abstract. So I've just put some examples of what you should include. You write one sentence to explain the problem. What is the problem that you are addressing? 1 to 2 sentences of the objectives and the significance, why this problem is significant and important, and what's the objective of the work. 1 to 2 sentences about the methodology that you're going to follow in order to achieve the objectives. 1 to 2 sentences of the main findings that you got. And finally, 1 or 2 sentences on the conclusions that comes out from that. So this is a general description, but please, when you come to writing an abstract, pay full attention to this. It has to be concise, although I've written so many sentences, but it should not be long, but it should be of strong impact into the reader. And the person who reads the abstract should understand the paper completely. What has been done, how it has been done, what is the final conclusion out of it. The introduction section is to engage the reader into the topic, excite the reader about what you are doing. This work is of interest for them to read. Explain the problem, why the work is important, state the aim of the study, mention existing solutions and their limitations. That's a very important part that you should put in your introduction. What people have done, and why they failed. What is the limitation of their work? And then that opens the room for what you want to do. So when you explain the problem, this problem is important. Because it's important, people are doing this and this and this. However, people are facing this and this problem, and there where I appear. So the reader will directly say, oh yeah, this makes sense. This guy is going into filling the gaps which are found in the literature. So the literature should explain where the science has stopped, because nobody needs you to reinvent the wheel. We have reached here, what did you build on it? And why? I mean, the conventional method used did this and this and this. Some people try to solve it by doing that, but they end up with another problem. So I'm proposing this, which will solve the problem. Basically that. And that should be in the introduction. So clearly explain the novelty and the significance of the work. You should say what clearly, shout it in front of the people. What I'm doing is novel because of that. So that's people can see what is the, because if you've done something novel, you should say that it's novel. It should show to people that it's novel. When it comes to method, the method has to be as detailed as possible, because people need to read the methodology and be able to repeat it and get the same results. If anything vague in the methodology, they will say that this is not complete methodology. The methodology must be 100% clear so that people can repeat it and exactly get their results. And people do that and they will send back to you or to, I've done your experiment, I got similar results. Or I've done your experiment, I could not understand what you are doing or how you get that. Or worse, I've done your experiment, I get different results. So it should be, if you clearly, so if he or she is getting different results, there is a reason, which means your explanation is not clear, so he done it differently. But if he done it exactly the same, he should get the same results. Science in UAE is the same like science everywhere. It's not the opinions here. This is science and fact and physics. So
for this methodology that you're talking about, what is the balance between if you have a novel idea that you want to publish and the one that you want to actually patent? Why explain everything in the paper and it does not go through the patent process if you actually want to patent?
can I ask you to repeat the question? Sorry, I did not catch it.
Okay. I'm trying to ask that if you have a novel idea that you want to publish and also you want to patent it, you want to patent the idea.
Yeah.
And now if you should explain all the process in the paper that you are trying to publish, how can somebody might actually beat you to that in terms of patenting it?
Okay. If you publish the work, it's called open literature, you can't patent it, whether you explained it or not. If the idea is published, you cannot patent it. What you can do in this case is that you can file your patent if you have an idea. You file the patent, you don't need to add to science. You just do something that nobody has done. So if I have this mobile and it's found, there's a patent where they put 3 legs and it stands. I say, oh, if I put 4th, it will be more stable. That's that's a patent. But there's no science. I mean, try to publish a paper by adding another leg here, nobody will publish it for you. So there's no addition. The patent doesn't require addition to science. It just requires something that works, which nobody has done it before, without really going to science. So you can preserve the right for the patent by filing your patent. But when it comes to, and usually the better sequence is to get the patent, and then you can investigate into science, understanding what's happening, adding to the knowledge, and then you can publish it. But if you published it, it's deemed, your patent is deemed rejected, because definitely you've covered more and understood more in the paper than in the patent. So the patent is done. But just file your idea. Without explaining, I mean, we've just done this, without really knowing what's happening behind it, whatever, what is the explanation, what's the addition of science. It's done. These results prove that it's done, and that's enough. Then you can go into publishing. But usually, I mean, if you are lucky, you'll be able to do both. But most of the time, either this or that. I mean, and when it comes to scientific and academia bodies, journal publication is regarded much, much higher than patents, because for the reason I've given. There is no real addition to science. Anybody at home can test something and patent it. It's not a big deal. When it comes, so the only thing they check when they accept a patent or reject it is, has it been done before or not? That's it. Beside that, they don't care about what is the addition to science, where is the novelty. But when it comes to journal papers, no, it goes through thorough reviewing for the content, for the explanation, for the science that you are developing, and which is not there in the patent. So generally, the perception of the scientific community is higher toward journal papers compared to patent. If you are in business, if you are in a company, if you say I'm publishing paper, they say, that doesn't matter. I want patent because I'm going to get money out of it. But if you are in the business of developing knowledge, which is in research centers and in universities, then the papers are regarded much higher. If you are in the business of making money, then the patent is more significant. Who cares if you publish 10 papers or 20 papers, how much money I'm going to get out of it? And in this case, they would prefer to go to patents. So you have to decide, but one way of going around it is what I mentioned. But still, it's a tricky thing, because if you have the patent out, it may affect the novelty of the idea itself. And if you don't have the novelty, you cannot publish it. But you have to be very careful on how you arrange it. Most of the time, people decide either this or that. So if the procedure has been explained in a previous literature, there is no use of repeating it again. If it's a standard method that you are following, say I measured it using this method and cite a reference. No need to rewrite it again. Write the methods that you are using, but standard methods found in literature, try to avoid it. Do not forget to present control samples and reference tests. That's something that most of the students forget to do. Whenever you are testing something, it should be with reference to a blank. It should be with reference to a reference. You cannot just present something without referring to a blank or a reference. So that's something that you should always explain in your methodology clearly to prove the idea that you are doing. You should always, if I'm putting X material to do something, okay, in absence of X, what happens? Because this could not be because of X. So I'm showing that without X, nothing happens. With X, it happens. So always try to have those references for any test that you do. You should always have a reference or a blank. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is a major problem when it comes to writing, because you are not supposed to claim what other people have done without referring to them. And what I say about plagiarism is that it is easily detected, but it can be easily avoided. Easily detected because all the journals will check it for plagiarism. There are softwares now that they put your paper, once they receive it, they put it into the program, and they will check whether how much the similarity between your work and the open literature. And if they find large number or large percentage of similarity, they will reject it. But at the same time, you can avoid it by giving the rights for the people who have published that. So cite, no harm of taking information from literature, but say, where did you get it from? Because if you don't cite the fact from where, people will assume that you are claiming it yours. Unless you say, I got it from there. If you don't say that, people will understand that you are claiming that you found it. So increasing the pressure results in increasing the extraction. If I don't say who did it, that means I'm saying it. And if someone else show that I've said it, then you are cheating and you are claiming thing which is not yours. Even if it's unintentional, there's no room for that. So just cite people carefully for every fact that you are taking. Results and discussion. This is the most important part of the paper, and decision to accept or reject. The reviewers will mainly depend on their decision on this. Forget about the editors and the interests of the readers. When it comes to the decision from the authors, it will be depending on this. Whether to accept it or to reject it is based on the results and discussions you have. So include only main findings. Use supplementary data for less significant data. Don't put everything. Just put the most significant ones. And the general rule of thumb is that if you are discussing the results, show it. If you are not discussing it, don't show it. So if there are some raw data that you use to generate other data, you don't show the raw data because you are not discussing, unless you want to show something and discuss something in the raw data. Equipment that you use, you don't show it unless you're going to discuss something there, something, you want to, any results. If you are not discussing, don't put it in the results and discussion. Put it in somewhere else. Put it supplementary data, appendices, whatever. And in addition, this will give significance to your finding. Avoid redundancy. Keep results of same type within subheadings. Now, sometimes people present the results, then they present it again, then they present it in a different way. Don't keep on repeating the same result. And the way to avoid this is to have subsections for every topic. So the test of temperature, or the effect of temperature, the effect of pressure, the effect of, put them in subheadings. That will make you, prevent duplicating the data when you put it in that way, because you already discussed it there, so it will not be appearing again. Figures can show trends better than tables. When you have a figure, I can see whether it's going up or going down or going up and down or how it is. But the results in tables, they don't show that graphical effect. So it may show, I need to check them one by one to see that they are increasing than decreasing. But graphical presentation have a more visual effect than tables. But don't repeat them. I mean, if you present them in tables, don't present them in figures. If you present them in figures, don't present them in tables. You don't repeat them again. So I've seen papers a lot when they say the results are shown in this table and in this figure. Why are you showing them twice? One of them is enough. And when you have an option between tables and figures, always try to go with the figures. Provide statistical analysis. Now, nobody will buy results that is not repeatedly tested for reproducibility and showing where are the fluctuation in those results, which shows in an error bar. Nobody will accept a point. They say, okay, this is the result. Yeah, but what if I repeat it? Will I get the same results or not? So you should always have repeated results, and you should always show the statistical fluctuation of your result. So if the error bar is large, then your results carries large level of uncertainty and may not be regarded as good as the ones with a smaller bar. The captions of the legends should be self-explanatory, and enable the figure to stand alone. Don't write a caption of a figure which is very brief and not clear. Write everything clearly so that the figure, if someone just looks at the figure, will understand. Write what is shown in the figure and what are the conditions to get those all in the figure, clearly explained in the figure. If you have two or more figures of same axis, then use the same scale. So if I'm testing at this temperature, and then I'm testing at this temperature, and then testing at this temperature, use the same scale for all of them so that people can compare between them. But if here I'm having a scale of 1, here I'm having a scale of 10, then I can't compare between the two. So if you have the same axis for same x-axis, have the same y-axis for all of them, even if they are different figures. The figure should be uncrowded. Don't put so many lines and people cannot see. Try to be clear. And if you need more figures, you can have them more. If you have two or more figures of the same, yeah, I've already said that. Choose the right chart type. So sometimes you prefer to do it in bar charts. Sometimes you have lines. Choose it the way that it will make a better impact. Now, when you present a result, you don't suddenly show it without guiding the reader to what you want to present. So first you give an introduction to what you want to present. So I'm going to show that figure. or this thing has been tested. Then you show the figure. So this thing has been tested, whatever, and the results are shown in figure 1 or figure 2, whatever. Then you show the figure. After you show the figure or the table, you first thing you explain the trend. Just say what we see. It can be seen that increasing the pressure results in increasing it, then it dropped, it reached a maximum. Just tell us what you see. So you explain the trend to people, and then after you explain the trend, you explain why is this trend happening. So what is the reason behind it? And you compare your results to previous literature. So if you have tested this and you get that much, while the others who done something else get less or get more, so you compare between what you get and what others have obtained so that you can confirm your idea. So as I mentioned, you introduce the figure or the table, don't suddenly show it. You introduce the reader to what you want to show, you put it, you explain the trend, and then you justify what is this explanation and compare it with the literature. You must confirm the reproducibility of the data. I've just mentioned about the error bars. Discuss the significance and implications of the results. Now, avoid statements that go beyond what the results can show. So don't speculate. Reviewers hate speculated results. If the result doesn't show that, you don't go and say it. If the results prove it, say it. But you say, yeah, this is, it might be because of this and that. It might be, prove it. The first thing the reviewers say, okay, go and prove for me whether it might be. If you say this might be because of byproducts, measure the byproducts and show me that it's because of the byproducts or something else. So all those speculative things, if the result doesn't show it, avoid saying it. Because if you say it, actually the reviewers may ask you to say it even without it, but at least you don't go and open the door on yourself. So just show what the results are showing. Don't go beyond that. Non-specific expression and speculations are to be avoided when you come to results and discussion. When it comes to conclusion, start strongly. Give a strong impact on the conclusion. The objectives were achieved. The findings were whatever, something which is a strong original statement. What does your work add to existing knowledge? I mean, I've seen many conclusions where people start to put their results there and their discussions there. Don't put that. Just show what is the final conclusion out of this. The objectives were achieved. The findings were significant. The process were optimized. Whatever the objective, you just speak about it. And what is the significance of this? This will have a large impact on the industry, wherever. Where is the significance of what you're doing? Do not include results or copy from the abstract. Discuss the significance and suggest future work, because you want to open the door for more work to be done. So you can pave the way for other people to continue what you are doing. And references, do not include too many references. I've seen people who measure a good quality paper by number of references. Oh, I've written a paper with 150 references. So what? I mean, is that the measure of the quality of the work? Oh, I've written a paper with 200 references. And I've heard it. I mean, I'm telling you stories that happened to me. I've heard that. But I can't understand what's the objective of having 200 references. Put the references that refers to what you are working on. I don't want to see. And that's not a measure of quality. If you need the 200, put them. But don't put the 200 so that the quality will be better. It doesn't mean that the quality is better. Actually, it doesn't mean better or worse. It means nothing. But try to keep the references that you have. This is an important one. I put it in red. Avoid excessive self-citations. Don't keep on citing yourself. Because in your record, again, which I'm going to speak about now, in your record, it shows how much self-citations you have. So if your self-citations is very high, that means you are the only one who's citing yourself. You are the only one who reads your papers. Try to avoid it as much as possible. Sometimes you are writing methodology which you've done before, so you refer to it. Fine. Sometimes it's inevitable, but don't keep on doing it because it increases my citation. It doesn't increase your citation. It's a click. In Scopus, it's a click. Exclude self-citations. Nobody will look at it. So you will see it high, but it's a click and you don't see it. So if my citations is 10,000, I click, it became 1,000, that's a bad impression. But if it was 1,100 and became 1,000, that's 5. So the 9,000 that you have are useless. Actually, it reflects bad on your portfolio, which you are from the beginning. We said you're going to build your portfolio as early as possible. At this early stage of your life, you should plan how I'm going to build my portfolio. Follow the journal's guidelines, because sometimes they reject your paper if the references are not written in the format of the journal. That's from the editor himself. Try to use references manager, such as EndNote. That helps a lot, because if you're going to move things around, these kinds of programs helps a lot in correcting the sequence of the references and the format. Okay, you've written the paper, you're going to publish the paper. I need to move a little bit faster because I'm out of time. Okay, where should I publish? I want to look at the quality of the journals. These are the major indices that people look at when they choose a journal. I'll just go a little bit fast because I'm running out of time, so I can finish. Anyway, the most important one is the impact factor of the journal. Again, it doesn't, I'm not saying that it's the most comprehensive or the best, but it's the most commonly used. The impact factor is the number of citations received in a year of an article published during the preceding 2 years, divided by the total number of articles published during the preceding 2 years. So they will look at the journal, how many papers cited in that year, divided by the total number. That's called the impact factor. There are many others. The site score is a combination of many factors there. So it's already recorded. You can have a look, or you can just search it. You'll find all those indices and what are the significance. So, however, what I want to say is that these are important and people look at when they determine the quality of the journal. But at the end of the day, the quality of the journal is the reputation of the journal. Because the impact factor or the site score, all those do not really reflect the quality of the journal. So these are how many people cited works in that journal. It is an indication, but it's not the only indication. From my opinion, the reputation of the journal, the reputations of the editors in the journal, the reputations of the authors publishing in the journal, that stands much more significance compared, and people in your field, believe me, they know the good journals. You don't have to tell them the impact factor. They know what are the good ones. But again, I'm not saying that the impact factor is, don't look at it, but it is not the only one. You have to choose the topic of the journal carefully. So you want to publish where people, because people usually do not read all journals, they read specific journals. So if you are publishing in something, you have to tackle that community who reads that, so you'll be able to get cited there. The most appropriate readership, again, which is coming from the topic of the journal. The length of the time of submission, I'll show you that now. The journal quality and reputation, that's the most important one here. And avoid paying for publications. Now, sometimes you will end up paying for publication, for open access or whatever. But paying for publication always raises a concern about the conflict of interest. I mean, you are paying people to publish your work. You can argue that it is not, it is whatever, but why would you put yourself in that position where you have to explain, oh, no, those people, they get paid, but they are why would you do that? Still, you should actually, as an author, you should be paid, because this is a work that you are giving to journalists to publish. But nobody is asking to be paid, but definitely you don't go and pay. Now, I repeat again that there are some good journals that require payment. And you can do that, but as much as possible, try to avoid it, because it will always, what I'm trying to do, to say here is that I don't want you to stand and explain yourself to people. I want your record to speak on your behalf. You don't want to go around and say, oh, no, but they are, and they are this and that. You want a strong record, then your journals should be not paid journals. Because the paid journals, everyone say you paid for them, definitely they will publish for you. They need the money, even if they are not. But try to avoid it as much as possible. Now, for choosing a journal, Elsevier provides this service which is called Journal Finder. So it is journalfinder.elsevier.com, and it looks something like this. So what you do here is that you put the title, you put the abstract, you put the keywords, and the research field. Actually, you don't have to put all of them, and you find the journal. You click on this. Something like this appears. And then you can arrange those journals that appear in front of you according to a drop list here, the best match, journal name, site score, impact factor. So they will arrange them for you according to what are you targeting in that journal. And what you can see here is some interesting things. Let's see. Here the site score, the impact factor, the acceptance rate, the time for first decision, and time for publications. These are something that you should look at, because if the time for publications and time for first revision is lengthy, you may avoid going to that. These journals take 1 year to get the first revision. Now, why would I go for them? Unless if that's the one you want. But anyway, you compromise between those and make a decision. But the journal finder service by Elsevier helps. For me, for example, before I publish, I do that. And it helps a lot, because it gives me a summary of all the possible journals that I can send to, and I make a decision. Am I in rush to publish, or I want a high impact journal and I don't care about the time? There's acceptance rate. Where is it? Acceptance rate. It shows, is this a very strict journal that the reviewers that they choose are very difficult to satisfy, or they go with reviewers which are lenient and I may get my paper through. So this has 23%. This has 16, this has 12, so I better avoid this. It's your decision at the end. But it's a service that people...
Does it show whether the journal is within your field of discipline?
Yeah, because you put here... no, I know what you're trying. No, it doesn't. You have to check it.
Okay.
But no, it chooses the journals based, because what they are is trying to match the topic of the journal and the topic of the paper. So at the end, if you choose a journal, what Dr. Ali is trying to say is that the journals are classified according to Scopus, according to fields. So you may end up publishing in a journal which is not under, if let's say you are from chemical engineering, it turns out that it's not under chemical engineering. So for you as a researcher, it doesn't matter, it's your paper. But for the Department of Chemical Engineering, if they want to be ranked, then they will look at how many papers have been published in chemical engineering journal, so you're not helping your department in this case. You'll be helping the institution because it's published under the name of the institution. But your department will not benefit unless you publish in a journal which is in the field of your department. So if you want to make that as a decision, it's not given in the, because that's not the concern of them. But for you as an individual working in an institution and you want to help your department, then you must take that as another factor in your selection. I want to choose a journal in the field of chemical engineering. I don't want to publish a journal in medicine. Even if I'm publishing something in chemical engineering, but let's say I developed medicine that can cure cancer, and I go and send it in cancer research. It's a good journal, everything is fine, but it doesn't add, it's your record, you got it, and it's yours. But the department is not benefiting from it. So, but here, no, it just compare between the content of the paper and where the journals that you can publish in. Once you choose the journal, you go to the journal and you go to Guide to Authors, which is the click over here, and that gives you exactly step by step how to write your paper according to the specification of the journal. Spend time reading the description and what is required and how to prepare the paper according to the guidelines, because rejections from the editors usually depends on this. They will look at. I just want you to imagine an editor in Elsevier or in any one of those big publishing houses will face. There are thousands of papers that drop in front of him, and he needs to screen before he sends. He can't handle all those. So there are some cutoffs that get it out. I don't have the time to look at it. One of them is format out, and these are tests before even it appears at the editor end. From the manager of the journal, it's out. And then he will start to get, and then he will start cutting before. If you reach the reviewers, you are already past so many steps. So it's not like before. When I first published, I used to send 5 hard copies of my paper with a CD, with everything in a letter, and I send it by post, and I wait for the editor. So the editor, how many will he receive? So he will look at it carefully and then decide whether he wants to send it to review or not. But now it's by email or by online submission, so anybody can submit anything, and he needs, as an editor, to cut off all those. So please try to pay attention to the guidelines. And I'll give you some hints about what the editor will cut off. When you prepare a paper, and that's I've noticed a lot, it's your work, not the supervisor's work, not anybody's work. You should be more concerned about the quality of your paper more than anyone else. But what I see is that students give me papers which are very poorly written. I mean, do you accept this? Do you accept your name to be on this? I mean, leave aside. I put this character where this student keeps on going back and he's returning it back to her. And at the end, he say, I'm sick of reading this. Just turn it on, turn it in. And that's what we don't want. You should be more concerned about your work than anyone else. Not the supervisor, not say, oh, hopefully the supervisor will accept. Hopefully the reviewer will accept. Hopefully the editor will pass it. You don't keep on hopefully. You should be, before anyone else, satisfied with your work and the quality of your work. So to do that, revise the paper carefully before submitting it to your supervisor. Print it out. Because when you see it on screen, you may see things which are not very clear. Print it on a paper and read it carefully before submitting it. No one should be more concerned about the quality of their work more than yourself. Use correct English. If your English is poor, seek help. There's nothing wrong with that. Most of us are not English native speakers, so we don't expect you to be Shakespeare. If you can't write, seek the help of someone who can help you with writing English to correct the grammar. Ask someone outside the field to read it. Can't someone from outside understand what you say? Because if you give it to someone from within the field, he already has the knowledge. So it may already be there, not because he read your paper, but your paper should be understood by a person from outside. It doesn't have to understand the technicality, but the logic of your work. So spend some time in this. At the end, it's a paper in your record. And from the beginning, I said it's not a small thing. So don't rush into it. Don't do half-cooked thing. Make it carefully, get it done carefully, be proud of it, and then it will be showing in your record correctly.
And the library provides the service now, reviewing.
For English, yes. So the English, you can send it to the library,
Free.
and they can edit the English for you for free. Absolutely. Okay, useful notes. Editors of good journals receive numerous submissions and will not have the time to review them all carefully. Should the editor find anything he or she does not like, the paper will be immediately rejected. And I've just explained that. These are some things that the reviewers, the editors, will look at and will reject the paper because of them. You will be asked to suggest reviewers. Never put a reviewer that you published with before. Never put a reviewer from your university and even from your region, if possible. Region is a little bit less significant, but your university, person who you published with, they have a search engine before it reaches the editor, and I'm telling you clearly, if you put it, it will be rejected immediately. So regardless of not being ethical and putting your friend, even if you want to be unethical, they will catch you. But at the end of the day, I'm saying you always should be proud of your work and say it should stand against any reviewer. But even if you want to think of it, avoid it. It will be rejected immediately because of that. Select some from the authors of good papers you cited. If you cited a paper, the editor will look at. You cited all those papers. You did not put one of them as a reviewer. That will also make a question. Why are you avoiding all those who are supposedly the main people in your field? So he will have the wrong impression about you, not because he doesn't like you, but because he want to reject. He has tons of things, so he doesn't want to see any flow. So he's not accusing you of being a cheater, but if it seems that there is something wrong, it's out. I don't want to spend time. So you put 15 or 20 research articles, supposedly you are reciting them, working in your field. Why none of them is in your references? So they were rejected because of that. Say he's trying to avoid the ones who really know about the work and putting for me people who may not know very much in a chance to escape. So try to cite from your own references. Try to avoid self-citations as much as possible. The editor will look at that. And if he finds so much of self-citations in your paper, he may reject it because of that. Have at least 70% of your references to be within the last 3 years. If you have so many old references, the editor may reject that. Because he doesn't have the time to read it. Actually, what I understood is that the system does it for him. If they are all old, nothing new, even if it's fine. I mean, if someone reads the paper, he finds that it makes sense that it's all old, but he will not spend the time reading it. So if they are all old, he will say that this is outdated work, there is nothing new, and he will reject it. So try to avoid. So all those try to pay attention to when you write it, to pass the editor. What we are trying to do now is to convince the editor to send it for reviewing. cite more from the journal you are applying to. This is a tricky thing I put here, because the editors like that. So try to make him happy. The objective here is not just to make him happy, but you are supposedly submitting to a journal in that field. So definitely you'll find papers speaking about something relevant from his journal. And he will like it because it will increase the impact of his journal. So it is somehow playing with his mind and say, I want this, it will help me. I'm not saying that the editors will do that, but it will have an effect because he will benefit. So he may let it go. Okay, and follow the guidelines carefully, as I mentioned. The progress of publishing goes through this. You do a submission, it gets rejected. If it doesn't get rejected, it goes to refereeing, it goes to reviewers, it gets rejected. If it doesn't get rejected, it sends you some things to revise and correct, and then they reject it. If they don't, it goes to more revision, and then it is rejected. But either they go to more, either from here, from the revision, directly they accept it, or after more revisions, they directly accept it, and then it goes for publication. So you can see that you are going through different hurdles and possibilities of rejection. But at the end of the day, your achievement is up there. The peer reviewer should not be looked at as this. I mean, people are not cutting and chopping your paper, and at the end you want to run between them and escape all those. No, you should stand clearly in front of all the reviewers and be able to defend the case. The reviewers, what the reviewers look at are those things: the importance, novelty, clarity, and good presentation. And they have a graph like this: technical quality and novelty. If you are in this spot, it's rejected. If you are in this spot, it's accepted. Somewhere here, it is in between. I'm just trying to go fast because I'm looking at the time. I'm out of time. Your paper, after many revisions, will look something like this. But you don't want it to be that, and that's what I want to say. You don't want to satisfy anything the reviewers say. Put this, put that. Why don't you add this? Why don't you add that? And you'll end up with something like this. And you don't want something like this. You want your work to stand the way that you see it. So always view this as a chance to improve the paper. When you receive the reviews, all those critiques, you don't start to be, oh, how dare he say this? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Look at it positively and approach it with a positive attitude. Don't start to be defensive before you receive the reviews. Do not attempt to respond before discussing with co-authors. Every co-author should read your revision carefully and accept what you are writing and what you are explaining. Don't go and send it without the co-authors knowing about it. Always stand with what you think is better for your paper. This is what I want to say. I'm not saying that disagree with everything the reviewers say, but don't accept anything if you feel that that will harm the quality of your paper. You can. If you disagree, so you do not have to agree with all comments raised by the reviewers. However, if you disagree with the reviewers, then clearly and politely explain why. Don't tell them you know nothing about it, or this is absolutely shows the lack of knowledge from your side. Don't say that. Just be polite and explain why you disagree with the guy. No need to show how stupid he is or he doesn't know what he's talking about. There is no use of this. Stand with what you think is right. Don't comply with anything blindly, but at the same time, explain it clearly and politely. As much as possible, though, comply with reviewers' comments and revise the paper accordingly. If you keep on disagreeing, it will be rejected. So those which you can, even if you don't really agree, but you can accept it. Because if he keeps, reject the ones that you cannot accept your paper with it. There's no way I'm going to accept my paper with such a comment. But if it is fine, I mean, you disagree, but it will go, try to go away with it. At the end, the decision is at the reviewer's end. If he says no, it's not going to go. So try to go with it, even if you not 100% agree. So you may end up with something similar to this, but not this at the end. Prepare a clear, itemized responses to all comments. Every comment the reviewers say, don't skip any. Write them one by one, what your response to them. Whether it is acceptance, rejection, whatever, you clearly specify all of them. Do not ignore any point, because that is very, very severe. If you ignore any of those points, it will be rejected because you ignored it. And be assertive but polite. Be firm. Be clear of what you are saying and what you are claiming. You don't have to say, okay, I thank the reviewer for such a great comment. I accept. No, be very clear about what you are doing. be assertive of what you're doing, but at the same time, be polite. Don't at the same time say that he doesn't know. Okay, I have to stop, but I want to just say these things. If you want to leave, I mean, I'm end of time here, but I'll just go through those because this is important. After you got your paper published, there is a huge work from your side to show, to broadcast that you have done it, because now you start to get the citations, and you want people to notice your work and to get it cited. So why to promotion is important. The increasing volume of research articles make it more challenging for researchers to keep up with literature. Therefore, you have to make sure your research gets the attention it deserves and it does not fall through the crack. You don't want it to be lost among all this large volume of publications. People must see your work. Use conferences you attend to promote your work. Speak about your work in conferences. I've done this, I've done that. Let people know. And I remember in conferences, people come and speak to you about it, say, did you publish this work somewhere? Where is it published? Give me the citation. And they will go and read it. And it's a very good publicity for your work. Use your institution communications channels. If the university has a spotlight or there has a place where you can put your findings, you can use that. So people, when they enter to the web page of the university, they will find your papers. Prepare an audio slide presentation. This is, by the way, a feature that Elsevier gives. So if you publish, you can put slides with audio and you can publish it with the paper. So that will help a lot. Keep your profiles up to date with your latest publications. If you have a portfolio somewhere in the university, in LinkedIn, whatever, try to keep it updated with your latest. Make full use of media such as LinkedIn, Twitter. Put in Facebook, I publish this to everyone. Let the news be spread. You published, so you must celebrate it. So the search engine optimizer, because people, when they search, you must optimize it in a way that will allow the people to find your work. Promoting your work should be in your mind even before you publish. How I'm going to promote this work? Use strong buzzwords and abstract that we mentioned before. Words that are descriptive and specific, also in your abstract. Use strong keywords in captions and figures and tables. Elsevier allows you to create and publish your own audio slides, which I just mentioned. Take advantage of that. Share your audio slide with colleagues, send them to your colleagues, and tell them to send it to other people they know. Use graphical abstracts. Again, most of the journals now, they have graphical abstracts, so use it. Graphical abstract is a graphical way of presenting your paper, and use it. These are the tracking and monitoring, and Scopus, Pablo's, Mendeley, OrcID, all those are, actually those are active. I wanted to open and show you how we use them, but anyway, if anybody want to see what they are, I can show them to you.
What are they, doctor?
These are, I'll show you. For example, if I go to Scopus, and I think I put here my, is there internet here?
Yes.
A Scopus is where your portfolio, all those shows your portfolio, the one I've just shown. What is your record of publications, and people, when they want to look at you, they will refer to those. Anyway, it's taking time.
And all the other websites is doing the same tracking?
More or less the same, but in different ways.
So
Some information are different. I mean, what you get, Scopus is the most comprehensive, from my opinion. But and even there is something called SciVal in Scopus, which even gives you more data. But there are other, Web of Science. There are many others, and anyway, it's taking time.
So you search by name of the author?
You can search by name of the author. Mendeley is created by Elsevier as well, and it has more information than Scopus. But the classical one is Scopus anyway. Okay, in summary, you should, for your paper to be published in a good journal, have a well-designed original study to write about, select an appropriate journal, write clearly and make your story interesting, be objective, and good editors and reviewers will be objective about your work. highlight the the addition to science and the significance of your results, respond carefully and positively to reviewers' comments. That's a summary of all what we've said. But at the end of the day, most importantly, you must have good publication, you need good work. So if you have good work, you don't need all of those. As you remember the example of the double helixes, it's the work itself stands for itself. Some advices: read as many papers as possible, because the more you read papers, the more you know how they are prepared and how they are written, and learn from the good ones as well as the bad ones. From the good ones, you learn how it is done. From the bad ones, you learn how not to do it. Improve your English as much as possible by reading, by listening. Learn to accept rejection and criticism and build on them, not get disappointed. Become a reviewer early in your career. As soon as possible, you start to get invitation for reviewing. Try to review so you get into the loop of reviewing and you understand how things are doing. Quality, not quantity, is everything. And by that, I would like to thank you very much and good luck with your next publication. Sorry, I took longer than I want, but...
Professor, I have 3 short questions.
Sure.
You talked about conferences and publication. I have a conference next week, and you feel like, I felt like you're not emphasizing on publishing anything in the conference. Like, should I aim only for journal publication and avoid any conference publication? This is what I felt like.
Yeah, again, this is my opinion, yes. Conferences, I'm not against going to conferences, but you go for another reason. You don't go to publish in conferences. You go for conferences. It's very important that every researcher attend. I'll give you an example. Einstein was invited to millions of conferences. Did he publish in those conferences? He was speaking about the same thing. Actually, he attended this conference, speaks about this relativity. He goes to the next conference, speak about relativity. So he's attending conferences, but he's not publishing in them. His publication is already done. The objective of the conference for him when he went there, when he was invited to those conferences, is not to publish. And that's what I'm saying. Conferences are very important. It is a way to look at so many ideas, to speak to so many people, to discuss your work. They will give you the ideas, but it's not a place to publish. That's, again, my opinion, but I repeat again, the IT people think conferences are, and I've heard it from them, they say, you don't know about our field. Conferences are more important than journals.
All right, second question is, how many...
Just one thing again. Conferences in general, the reviewing process is very lenient. They will just look at whether it is within the scope or not within the scope. That's it. So there's no thorough reviewing. All what I've said here is not there in a conference. So it's a different quality altogether in terms of the quality of the publication.
Right, how many co-authors do you think a good paper should have? Like, should I avoid to have a collaboration with a big project with a big university because my paper can end up having 3 or 5 names in it? Or like if
you want to collaborate, there's nothing called I'm collaborating with a group and the group, all of the group will be on the authors. You are collaborating with individuals. You know them by name. You know what they are doing. It's not I'm collaborating with a group and the group will have their name and I don't know who are those people. So you collaborate, and collaboration is very important, but it should be collaboration not for the sake of collaboration. Collaboration for the sake of exchanging knowledge. So you know something they don't know, they know something you don't know. Because in science, you need to be very specific and deep in what you know. And as they say, you need to know everything about something, not something about everything. So you need to know everything about your thing. But a guy in biology may know things you don't even imagine that it happens. And you know things that they can't imagine that you can do. So by collaborating with them, you can get something much more than your individual work alone. But this is a real collaboration. And that's why both of you deserve to be on the paper. But I'm not collaborating with a group and I have the group name with me. I mean, who are those people? I don't know them. I mean, I've seen people say, who's that? He say, oh, he's in the group. Who is I've never met him. I don't know. What did he do? I don't know. He's in the group. So people do that. The entire group put their name. Now, I'm just saying that I don't think this is the right thing to do. You should work with people you know. Your contribution, his contribution, her contribution is clear. the synergy between you is clear. You don't just repeat each other's work. You complement each other in order to get to something clear out of it. And that will be cited much, much higher than if you work with your colleague in your next door.
So if you're trying to target high impact journals and you don't have a track, you're not known in the science community, what is
Who's
okay,
not known?
Like you're just starting your career, basically you're trying to publish.
You are not known?
You
Or
just
the
start-
journal is not known?
No, you as a researcher, you're
The
not-
author is not known. That has nothing to do with the acceptance. I mean, you don't have to be known author to be accepted. Your work is the only criteria whether you're accepted or rejected. It's not because you are there we're going to publish it. It's not because of that.
Yeah, I mean like you don't have a track in such a
It
field.
doesn't matter. Nobody will check your track before they look at the quality of the work. Now, again, I'm speaking about ideal world, but in reality, those big names, nobody can dare to say no. I know. I mean, that's happened, but it's wrong. It should be the quality. So, if I say that I am a well-known figure and I send to a journal, the journal will be happy that that guy chose my journal, and it will go through because he's that guy. But that's wrong. But at the end of the day, nobody will reject your work because you are unknown. That's not a factor. It should not be a factor. And I know that I can see where it comes from. People say, oh, let's try to put the name of that guy with us. Seeing his name will get it through. People can do all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, what do you want? You want to be proud of your own work. Forget about what people are doing. And yes, I agree. Some big names, it will be intimidating for the editor to reject. He can't. This guy is very influential. I can't, which is wrong. If his work is not good, but he didn't reach that level, by the way, without having a very solid work. So it's fine. I mean, definitely he's there because his work put him there.
So basically, focus on the work, and it will get you there. And
It will get you there. Then you'll get easier review after that. Someone wanted to ask. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance, and I hope we'll see more publications from you in the right journals.